Do I start, Hadar? Right, I'm starting. Oh, I can't hear you.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I'll be sharing this the screen, and then you can look at your notes. Nice, we're live.
Hey everyone, welcome to Demoing with Organiz. My name is Amanda Khan. I use she, her pronouns. I'm based in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm the head of partnerships here at Organiz. I wanted to take some time to tell you a little bit about Organiz and how we got started. Organiz is a tool, a social media tool that is designed to make actions online easy and intuitive for organizers. Organizers is a tool that was created for organizers by organizers. And so we understand the gaps and the loopholes that comes with organizing digitally. And so with that being said, let's jump right in. So as organizers who organize online, like I mentioned, we know some of the difficulties that you all go through. And so we created Organiz to deal with three problems that we felt were holding organizers back from reaching their audience, getting their message out there, and not getting lost in the black hole that is social media. And so problem number one is digital organizing is still a manual process. It is something that you have to organize to get groups to be part of, and it's usually really hard to get them all on the same page and to do the actions online at the same time, because it requires folks to be there online at the same time in order to amplify a message. And oftentimes that leaves your base out of the mix, right? It's like you can organize other organizations and partner organizations together, but oftentimes our base doesn't have the capability of being online at that designated time. And two, mis and disinformation online is like a widespread online pandemic itself, and it is it is responsible for the 2016 elections and why so many people have not taken the vaccine for COVID because of widespread dis and misinformation. And now it is even harder for organizations to get their message out there because political content is being limited online by social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter. And so it's making it even harder and a bigger obstacle to get the truth out there, to get our message out there, to get our actions out there. And so we created Organiz to help with these three problems. The solution to problem number one is automating a toolkit solution, one that centers community and collaboration in mind and coalitions. So it's not just about organizing with coalition partners and partner organizations, but also involving your base to make sure that they're heard. There's a large political conversation that's happening on social media, specifically Twitter, all the time, and with or without our communities. And so we want to make sure that we're able to involve their voices and have them be heard. And then a way to combat mis and disinformation, right, is people are the center of it. And so people powered Twitter storms and actions and specifically directly impacted people, right? People who are able to share their stories and get it out there in terms of the truth, right, is a way to combat mis and disinformation. Because we can't wait on social media platforms to try and regulate that, because clearly they have not been and haven't been doing a good job. And then in terms of like political content that is limited, this is why relational social media organizing is so important. As organizers, maybe you've heard the term relational organizing, but whether or not you actually know the social media person that you're following, right? Like you're following them because you like their content, they're a trusted source for you. And so that's what I mean by when I say relational social media organizing, is that when we're following and seeing the same content from the people that we follow that we trust, we know that this is a way that we can get past that limited content. So with that being said, just to like go in and highlight that Organize was built and created for action, right? By scheduling posts together to trend our causes to build progressive power. So I'm going to pass it over to Gathar, our co-founder, who will take us through Organize demo. And you might have some questions during the demo. Please feel free to drop all your questions in the chat, and we will answer them as we go. Gathar, take it away.
Cool. Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. And also feel free to interrupt. I don't know if the audience was able to speak on the mic, but yeah, definitely interrupt me if you can do so. If not, use the chat and Amanda will ask those questions on your behalf. Cool. So yeah, so I'm going to take you all through kind of how why we built Organize and how it can help with your Twitter strategy specifically. So this is our homepage of campaigns. So this is a chronological order of campaigns that have been coordinated on the platform so far, and basically at the heart of it, right, like we make it easy for you all to coordinate Twitter storms. And Twitter storms are basically a large, like as many people coming together on Twitter to talk about a specific issue with the goal of trending that issue and then getting even wider reach about that particular issue, or putting pressure on specific targets, with whether there are folks in power or corporations or any other kind of decision maker. So yeah, so the first thing what I will do is take you into like a campaign page. And so, as you scroll down, you can see kind of all the campaigns and the dates when they were live. So let me click on, for example, the Protect Don't Deport campaign. So this was a campaign that was organized by Mi Gente. You can see on the right here. But yeah, so this is the campaign homepage, and so the main important things to note here are that this was live on October 1st from 12 to 1. So what that means is that right before, so like a couple days to like a couple weeks before October 1st, Mi Gente created this page, shared that page with their supporters. And then once they did, folks were able to come in and schedule tweets at their convenience. So you can see 49 people were involved in this particular action. And then all of those scheduled tweets went live from 12 to 1 on October the 1st. And so what this really helps with is it really allows you to take advantage of the way that algorithms on Twitter work. And so Twitter algorithm really prioritizes recent content and highly engaged content. So the releasing all the tweets strategically in a short period of time like this allows for those tweets to be then shown to even more people. And then secondly, we also send reminders to folks right before their tweets are about to go live. So if it's like 12 noon, we send out a reminder at 11 a.m. To everyone that joined the campaign to get on Twitter and engage with the tweets that are going live. So that helps with engagement. And so let me scroll down to show you more aspects of the campaign page. And so one of the purposes of this is to also mimic some of the use cases of a social media toolkit. And so you'll see kind of all the graphics and video assets that were part of this campaign. And here is the main call to action, where users can respond to a prompt that the organizer has created for them, and then pick from one of the graphics that the organizer has added to the campaign, or they can upload their own media that they have created in support of this campaign. More on this a little later, but as I scroll down, you can also see an overview of the analytics of this campaign, and then a campaign kind of tracker that allows you to see how many people have engaged, how many people have contributed, and we have a kind of a gamification system that allows you to see what level your campaign is based on the tweets that have been contributed to the campaign. And as I scroll further down, you can see the actual tweets that were scheduled for this campaign, and all of them have a status on them that says tweeted. And this is because the campaign was already live and all the tweets have gone live. And so before, when they're still scheduled, this would say scheduled. And another great thing about this is as tweets go live, you can actually click on these posts so then you can then be taken to the actual tweet on Twitter, and then directly engage with that particular tweet. So this is basically serves as like a page where you can see all of the folks that have taken action for your campaign. Cool. So let's see. So let me then take you quickly through what it's like to actually contribute to a campaign. Create a campaign. So this, what I can do is click on this create campaign button, and this is a two-step process. So the first thing you could do is name the campaign, choose a category. This is less important. But what's really important is to pick a date and time for the future. So let's say I want to do a campaign for next Friday. I can do so at, let's see, 12 p.m. And I can select from these durations. So usually you want to select something like 2 hours, so that depending on how many tweets you have, they all go out in a shorter period of time rather than longer. And then a hashtag. And so this is the next and last step. And here is where, as an organizer, you're asked to come up with a prompt that folks that are supporting a campaign can respond to. So you can make very specific prompts, but like a more generic one is, why is this issue important for you? And then you can add background information about this particular issue, links to further reading. You can add links to some of the description you have in here. And then I think what's also critical is that we allow the organizers to add sample language to sample posts to respond to this particular prompt. So here is sample post one, right? So you can add as many sample posts as you'd like. So yeah, so that, and then you create campaign, and then it'll create like the basic bare bones version of the campaign. So, and that's what this looks like. And I think the next kind of main aspects that you want to update on the campaign page before sharing it with your base or larger community, is to update the header image for the campaign page, and then also add kind of a summary objective for this campaign here. And yeah, and then sharing a campaign is as simple as, you know, sharing the URL that you see in your browser. And you can also use this invite button to invite folks. You know, if you have a list of emails, you could do that here. But if you're using like a third party, like another CRM, let's say like NGP Van or every action or something like this, then you can directly, you know, email folks, email a subset of your list with the campaign URL. And also, I think what's useful to know is like if you share this URL on social media directly, it creates a nicely formatted preview of the campaign on social media. So yeah, so I think that is what I wanted to share. Oh yeah, another important aspect that I wanted to say was that you know, just because you know, folks can still contribute to campaign after the end of the so-called campaign. So after December 17th, after 2 p.m., people can still contribute to the campaign. The only difference being that the posts would go live on Twitter immediately, as opposed to waiting to go live between 12 and 2. So if you have days of action or like specific Twitter storm that you're planning, then this is a great tool. But also, if you want to kind of keep it open for a couple of days, you know, even after the end of a Twitter storm, you can do that. Okay, cool. Are there any questions coming up on chat?
Yes, Kadar, from Will, I
Yes.
see a question that says, will TikTok get added to this? I'm seeing a lot of traction here for younger voters and their moms, sort of the ways that Instagram was about 5 to 7 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I think our plan is to add more platforms, including TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. The main challenge around these other platforms is that they don't allow for easy API access, so we're not able to schedule posts like we are with Twitter. But what we can do, I think, is, but I think it's just as important to have some kind of like a specific platform for social media toolkits, and so we don't have to keep using Google Docs and folders for, you know, with graphics for each different social media platform. So I think what we could do at the very least is have support for multiple platforms and have you know, whoever is participating in those campaigns post to these platforms immediately and not schedule. Or if we want to do scheduling, we're probably gonna do what other tools do right now, other like kind of mainstream tools like Hootsuite, Later.com. All these platforms do is they basically let you create the post, and then when it's when it's time for you to kind of schedule, they say, okay, we'll send you a reminder when you want to send this out. And then, you know, when you get the reminder, it's a matter of then manually posting to these platforms. So it's a little bit of we have a couple of different options, but yeah, in brief, we definitely want to support additional platforms in addition to Twitter.
John had like another follow-up, which was Facebook and Insta allow for API access to other tools now.
Yeah. No, yeah. So the restriction that around Facebook is that you can only post to your pages you're moderating, and not to your through the API. You cannot post. You cannot post to your personal page, and so that's the limitation I think that we're coming up against. And on Instagram, we can only post to business accounts and not your personal Instagram account. So these are kind of the limitations that I think are not great for us, because we really want to use people power and individual networks. Yeah, and so in that, for that reason, I think scheduling is kind of not an option for those platforms.
Okay, we have a couple more questions here. Jessica and Danielle kind of have one that's similar, which is, can you share some things that you've seen work well for a Twitter campaign? Any pitfalls to avoid? And Danielle would like to, yeah, love to know about things to avoid on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay. So let me share some example campaigns. I think that's a good uh, starting point for us. Cool. So I think let's see. So I can show you all the example of this campaign in San Francisco, where the Real Justice PAC created a campaign to defend Chesa Boudin from getting recalled. Although at the end of the day, he is going to be there's going to be an election to be recalled. I think this campaign was especially successful, even with 39 activists here. Um, but they were able to schedule 77 tweets and get 300,000 plus impressions on Twitter. And so this is especially effective because some of the folks that were mobilized to take part in not just scheduling, but also when the tweets were going live, that this campaign did a really good job of engaging with the tweets that were going live. And what's I think really for us stood out is that folks who had a lot of kind of reach on Twitter were part. The influencers, I guess, on Twitter were part of this campaign when it was going live, and it really helped amplify the reach and impact of this campaign.
Hey, this is Diva. I'm also I work with Amanda and Betsy and Kedar and Organize. I do want to just call out to like one thing we have seen with Twitter campaigns is that tweets that have images will definitely increase some type of participation or interaction or a click through with that tweet. So, for example, if you kind of think about this, when you're trying to convey a message, that saying a picture is worth 1,000 words. That saying can be applied to a tweet. If you're trying to say something or convey a message that's very like dense, sometimes just adding an image will definitely give you more of an impact. So I think when you're thinking about Twitter, your Twitter campaigns and your Twitter storms, you definitely want to have some mix of media, whether that's images, photos, or videos. That will definitely boost engagement.
Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, that's why we have like a graphics, why the media element is so important for campaigns on Organize. Let's see, another example was with Julius, was the Day of Action for Julius Jones. Here 80 folks were part of this campaign, basically tweeting about making calls to the governor of Oklahoma to grant clemency for Julius Jones, and they were able to get 132 tweets out. And at the end of the day, this was a great campaign for us, but also it's a testament to all the work that organizers like the Grassroots Law Project and other have put into and actually achieved clemency for Julius Jones. Cool. All right. So another aspect of I think there was also that question around what are some of the pitfalls around Twitter. I think the pitfalls around it. I think some of the reason we developed this platform is because we wanted it to be easy for you all to do Twitter storms, which basically take advantage of the way Twitter algorithms work, which is around recent content and highly engaged with content. And as Steve was saying, images, videos, GIFs, that kind of thing really help. And so I think like coordination on Twitter is so very important. So if it's kind of like one person tweeting, a whole team tweeting throughout the week is not necessarily as effective as coordinating to tweet on a specific day for a short period of time and then really engaging with those tweets and with your supporters' tweets. I think is really important because it doesn't just allow the folks who are supporting your campaign to be seen and heard, but also it helps with the total reach and impact of the campaign.
Yeah, and I just want to call out the idea of interacting with tweets and scheduling tweets within the short period of time. So the reason why we are kind of going back to that and emphasizing that, and that's actually one thing you want to keep in mind, is that when you send a high volume of tweets within a short period of time, and by short period of time, I mean like 1 to maybe 2 hours, you're working with the Twitter algorithm. And what's going to happen is that algorithm is going to detect that there is a high volume of content that is associated with a specific hashtag. And then that hashtag is going to get picked up by the algorithm and will be marked as trending. And that's kind of the way that you can get your content to trend. So really the thing you want to think about is as you're creating these campaigns, on Twitter or on social media, to think about, like Heather was saying, to set aside, a 1 or 2 hours on a specific day, invite all your members, all the people that are your supporters, all the people that will join the campaign, get them prepared. And then Organiz is a great tool that can help you with this. You can just schedule your tweets to be sent out within that short amount of time. And then you have it increases your odds of trending. So I think if you have to balance between, scheduling your tweets ahead of time versus working with your members over like a week, our recommendation is to go with like the shortest amount of time. So like scheduling your tweets ahead of time for them to be all sent out like at once within 1 to 2 hours, as opposed to, having a week-long campaign. That's definitely a call out, I would say, and a pitfall to avoid. Obviously, every campaign is different and your circumstances may require you to have a longer campaign or a longer engagement, and that is what it is. But, if your aim is to go viral or to trend, the best way to do that is to share a high amount of content within a very short amount of time.
Cool.
We
Any
have
other questions?
Yes. So from John wants to know what the difference that Organiz is compared to Thunderclap.
Thunderclap, yes. I think the main difference is that we really want to get people's individual points of views in support of a campaign rather than kind of taking a tweet and getting it retweeted by as many people as humanly possible. So as you can see, we have a huge emphasis on, while we have kind of sample language, we also have an emphasis on that language, allowing users to add their own perspectives. And so, the purpose of this prompt here is so that the individual users can add their stories and add their perspectives and enrich that conversation and that for that campaign.
Yeah, and also I think there's a lot to be said about creating unique content for campaigns. And again, this is us working closely with the Twitter algorithm, because the danger in just duplicating tweets and having them be all sent out at once is you run the risk of getting blocked. So if, for example, you have one tweet that's sent out by 400 people, the algorithm is going to flag that account as being a potential bot, and will get shut down. So with us having like talking points, this allows us, like Heather said, to provide like more of a discussion and a conversation, and people are able to provide their unique voice, and also we're much more closer to the algorithm as well.
Yeah, I think Thunderclap went under in 2018. Due to some of this, because Twitter and social media platforms has stopped giving as much API access. But I think there's a lot left on the table in terms of what we can automate and what we can make easier as far as campaigns and campaigns go. And so I think this is the space that we're taking up.
I wanted to make sure that we got to David's question, which is, how do you include imprints identifying the promoting organizations, or is it just by hashtags? I think this is a good time to go into like the embedded version of the campaign.
Yes. Okay. So can you repeat the question actually, Amanda?
How do you include like imprints identifying the promoting organization, making sure that people, when they click on a campaign, that they know that it's from this organization? I think that's what David was trying to ask.
Oh, I see. Well, I think this is the campaign homepage, and so the organizer is listed on this page, and you can also see who else is involved in this campaign, right? I think so. That's the main kind of way you're aware of who the organizer is, and then there's also like kind of a story of the campaign here that you can read and get a background about. Yeah. So and then I wanted to also share kind of a embeddable version of this campaign page that also you have access to, and you can share with your base or with your community, and that's this version, and this is something that you can embed on your own website or the website for your campaign, let's say. But this it's clearly not embedded right now, but also this could be like a more focused call to action, so users who you think don't have to see who the organizer is, or who or when the communication is clear, where you're for example, say texting your base, and they know who they're talking with, you can send this, and where it's a very focused like call to action. So I think this can be really helpful to basically convert users taking action in support of your campaign. So yeah, so this is essentially the same as the call to action you've seen on the campaign homepage. You can try different sample posts. You can change them to your heart's content. Pick from one of the media available, or upload your own, and so on. So yeah, and then the kind of the next step here is like the only thing we really ask for the supporter is to be able to sign in and give permission for the platform to schedule that post on your behalf at the time of the campaign going live. And so here also we ask for you to agree with our terms of use, and then optionally you can you can opt to share your information with the organizer of the campaign for future kind of communication with them. And then also we make it easy for you to sign in with your Google or Facebook account. So currently these, so let's say if you're a user and you want to support this campaign but don't have a Twitter account, you can make one, or you can sign in with a Google or a Facebook account and still take part and still make your voice be heard. And so the main kind of issue with signing in with your Google account is that you're able to, you're still able to contribute, but your tweet doesn't go live on Twitter. Instead, it will kind of it'll be on the campaign homepage for that campaign, and then the organizer or whoever else can then share that tweet on Twitter. So even if you're even if you don't have a Twitter account, you can participate in this way. And Facebook is something we're working on to support in the new year. So currently you can just use Facebook to authenticate and to be able to contribute to a campaign, but you cannot right now post to Facebook. But that's something that's about to change in the near future for us.
I wanted to jump in here and add that as organizers, like depending on who your base is, whether it be an undocumented base, immigrants, low-income families, older folks, oftentimes they don't have a Twitter accounts. And so it's important that their voices are still heard. They're able to share their stories that's directly impacted folks. Because like I mentioned earlier, there's a large political conversation that happens on Twitter with or without their voices. And the whole point of this tool is to make sure that people have access, right? Whether or not they have a Twitter account. So when able to sign in using their Google or Facebook, right, it gets posted to the platform. The organizer would then retweet it, and then it would go live on Facebook. So people can post on Twitter and be seen and heard on Twitter without actually having a Twitter account, which is the important piece of access that we are really proud of.
Yeah, and so just to show that aspect of it, and is what you can do is once someone shared, once someone shared their kind of their story or their perspective without a Twitter account. So for example, this is a great example, right? So here it says only on Organiz, and that's because this person didn't have a Twitter account. They probably signed in with a Google or a Facebook account. And so then you can copy the link and share it on Twitter in your own personal Twitter account. So if you click that, you've basically copied the link to this post.
I wanted to jump in here because there was a question about, who are activists and who are supporters and campaign organizers, and what's the difference. So I just kind of wanted to make sure clarify sort of the two main flows that we have going on here. So you have the role of a campaign organizer. So that's one role. And a campaign organizer is the organizer who will come to our platform and create a campaign. They can create a campaign. They can invite other people to join the campaign. They can create the talking points. They basically just do all the setup. And then once a campaign is done, they're able to see the analytics for a specific campaign. Now, a supporter, and I think, Richard, this might be your question. A supporter or an activist, they are people who that's a separate role. What they will do is they can be invited to campaigns. So when a campaign organizer sends out a link to their member base, folks can click on that link. They can join a campaign. They can schedule tweets. They can interact with other tweets. They can share the campaign, but that's pretty much it. A supporter or an activist cannot create campaigns, and they won't get the level of granularity of detail and analytics of the campaign when it's completed as well.
Yeah, and then I wanted to say additionally, the organizer of the campaign. So here the main, like visually speaking, this is the organizer, and these are the activists or supporters, which we use interchangeably, activists and supporters. But the organizer also has moderation powers on their campaign. So they, not only are they in charge of creating the campaign and the creating the prompts and the updating the sample posts and the objective of the campaign, but also they have moderation powers of, if there's like a troll in the campaign and they're spewing some hate messages, they can then delete those tweets. And the same with media. If someone has uploaded something objectionable, they can delete that from that campaign. And you're able to do this because this is a campaign that is scheduled to go live, and so they can do so before the tweets and the media go live. Cool. So analytics is the next bit that I wanted to share with you all. Is the organizer also has a deeper access to the analytics or the impact of the campaign on Twitter. So this is kind of the high-level view of the analytics that everyone has access to. But let me show you like a campaign. So because I'm currently, as you can see, logged in with my Organiz Twitter account. So I don't have access to analytics on the Julius Jones campaign, which the Grassroots Law Project created, but I do have it on the Facebook Lockout campaign that we created, where we are the organizers. So this is more of like a test campaign. So what I can do is click on this button that says View Full Statistics, and you can see more of a breakdown of all the analytics here. So so you'll see the total number of scheduled tweets, total impressions from Twitter, engagements, and then also like other Twitter specific analytics like URL clicks, video views, likes, replies, retweets, that kind of thing. And then also you have like on Organiz, you can understand what was the most kind of used prompt, or what was the prompt that was replied to the most. In other words, like what was the prompt that people used in order to schedule their tweets the most. And the same with the media. What was the media that was most used in that campaign? And I think also what's really important is critical is to see by user how many impressions and tweets that were scheduled. And so this can be really important to understand who in your user base it really had an impact in this campaign, and so that you can make sure that you involve them in future campaigns as well. So another thing here is that this is data that then can be synced with, as an organizer, you're then able to sync this data with your NGP van, which is the first platform we're supporting in terms of support with an external CRM. And so this is, and so that, like I was showing you all earlier, like the user has to agree to share that information for the organizer to have access to their information to then be able to sync with their CRM. In our case, NGP van. And additionally, then you're also able to export this page as a CSV file, and so that currently you can do by contacting us, but in the future you'll see a button that says export CSV, so you can do that yourself. Cool. I think that's all I have to share. Any other questions coming up? Maybe about data, maybe administrative privileges.
I do see a few questions. Sorry, my internet was like making it come in pretty late. So
okay.
Let's see. Richard says, so is this sort of like change.org, but instead of signing petitions, you're adding a tweet to a campaign that would be scheduled out? Um, and there are no dumb questions here, Richard, so don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great description of what we have built so far.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add in like the strategy of scheduling, right? Is that we're constantly like phone to action, right? There's a place in phone to action where you can schedule, sorry, you can tweet online, but that tweet just kind of goes out at any time whenever that person is able to take action and is not released in a strategic way, so it could get lost in the black hole that is social media. Imagine you're organizing for a day of action, right? And the day of action is 2 weeks from now. If you're, as you're organizing that day of action in person and you're able to organize online as well, right? You can get your base to schedule a tweet, and then those tweets get released strategically during the time of the day of action. And so that it gets amplified and people don't actually have to be scheduling right then and there, right? It's like you're harnessing that power collectively. The next question, or Joe says, thanks for the clarification and the answers. I look forward to your future platform additions as I can see this being $50 or $100 well spent for a few organizations. I assist. Oh, I guess it's not really a question. It was just more of like an appreciation. Thank you, John. Looking forward to connecting with you. David has a question, which is, who is the data controller and data processor under GDPR?
Yeah, we don't yet support GDPR, actually. So yeah, that's something that we need to understand a little bit more. As I understand it, it's like on a moving kind of goalpost, and it's something that yeah. So that's something that we are figuring out how to support. Yeah, I think
And
that's
I
the
think,
best I can say.
yeah, and I think something there is that, right now, our campaigns have been like within the United States, but, we will be, eventually that's, as we branch out to more and more organizations that are working outside of the US, this is going to be a thing we'll need to focus on. So, David, it would be really great to connect with you and get your thoughts. If you have time, we can set up a time to chat about this.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, for sure. Would love to connect with David. Um, Great. Yeah, I mean, I think, actually, to continue on GDPR, I think one of the things that we're trying to be kind of mindful of is making sure to ask for user consent at every step of the process. And so that's and then anonymizing data and uh, in our own analytics engines, and then also asking for consent, whether that's like sharing that data with the organizer of the campaign, or asking for consent for storing cookies for user authentication purposes. But we also know that GDPR is like a higher bar, and so we're not yet focused on Europe right now, and so that's something that we'd like to learn more about um, and begin supporting. Cool.
We don't have any other questions at the moment here, so I guess we can return to our slide deck and
Okay.
go into, Kazar, if you can go into a little bit more. I know we lightly touched on this, but slide 12 on explaining how some of our features are different from other competitors.
Yeah, I think the main way, again, we're different from other platforms is that we're able to allow you to schedule tweets in advance of a Twitter storm or a day of action. There are no other platforms currently that allow for this kind of amplification on Twitter. And then we're kind of in other kind of features that are coming out for the beginning of next year, are additional platform support, which is going to help us serve that many more people, because as influential as Twitter is, I think most people are on Facebook, Instagram, and other platforms. So that's something that we're looking forward to supporting in the very near future.
So I want to go into how can you all use Organize to build power digitally, and I'll share with you how some other organizations have used it as well. But true to organizer fashion, right? The goal of organizing, period, right, is to uplift the voices of communities left out of the conversation, directly impacted communities, immigrant communities, people of color. And low income communities and so much more, right? Marginalized communities. And so I think what's really important, especially, is like centering the issues, right? The issues centered of every campaign, talking about those issues and bringing them to life in terms of like highlighting those directly impacted folks who are sharing their stories. We've had people use like town hall on Twitter to talk about the issues and or their candidates using Organize, and engaging your base. Your base may or may not be on Twitter, but if they're on Facebook or on Google, they can still be part of the engagement process. And as we all know, keyboard activists can engage in the political arena to their comfort level, but it is more powerful when we all come together and we're able to harness those voices collectively. And mentioned using Organize as a digital layer in your days of action, whether in person, but of course, like there's a lot of digital days of action, and so you can build for it instead of waiting for the day of action to go live and then like seeing like, oh, are people going to participate or not participate? You can see as you build for the action, right? You can see how many people participated, how much organizing you need to do on the back end to make sure that your day of action digitally is built well and can set you up for success to trend your narrative. And of course, during the elections this year, and folks are going to be using Organize next year for the elections, we want to use Organize to harness the power during GOTV and registering folks to vote. So other ways that orgs have used Organize is by maximizing their virtual lobby days to bring in the outside voices of folks who could not be in those meetings as they were lobbying for the meetings. This adds a layer of social pressure, right? For folks who are not able to be in the meetings, but like folks who are in the meetings were able to read some of the tweets and share some of the stories of the folks that were online in those meetings. And so oftentimes, like when you're lobbying for something, right, you have to either be there in person, or if we're lobbying online, you have to be there during a certain time and date, and not everyone can attend. So this is really important. And then for like advocacy, right, asking folks to share their story, how they're directly impacted. We want to make sure that the story does not get lost in social media space. And so scheduling those stories and released strategically allows for a greater impact. In terms of like thinking about using Organize when it comes to candidates, right? Folks have used Organize to drive donors by having existing donors share their stories collectively on why they're supporting a particular candidate. Like I mentioned, the Twitter town halls to talk about the issues or the platform of the candidate, and driving conversation on the candidate's platform. So what can Organize offer you? We offer strategic consulting, which is helping with the onboarding process of organizing, strategizing for your Twitter Storm campaign so that you can all be successful. By helping design content, we can source content and help think through content that concepts for your campaign. As Thea was saying, like a picture, a video, a meme, a GIF can mean the difference, right, to people engaging or not engaging with your post and with your tweets and your campaign. And so we want to make sure that your campaign has all the features that's needed to attract people to your campaign so you can get your message out there. And then Kadar went over this in a little bit more detail, but like that impact report, right? And that analytics and the data syncing to your van or to whatever CRM that you're using, a dashboard that deep dives into the impact of your campaign, right? Like what from this digital action, what can you say was the impact and how many people did you bring in? That's often what's missing from the digital organizing conversation is that you're asking folks to take action online, but like, are you bringing people in? Are you following up with them? And so it's really important that when people, sign in and they schedule a tweet, organizers are able to, and they opt in, organizers are able to see their email, their social media handle, and they can follow up with them, right? With whether it be setting one-on-ones, whether it be inviting them to other events, being like, I saw you took action, I saw you share your story, I want to talk more about that. That is the organizing part of bringing people in. You don't have that without that impact report and that data, that access to data. Kadar, did you want to add anything?
No, I think we're good. I'm good.
Okay, great. So then I guess can we go into the pricing? Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah. So our pricing is on a sliding scale for organizations based on based on the organization's size, and I think this is something that we currently measure based on the number of employees, full-time employees at the organization, and we offer kind of the ability to buy a campaign at a time or subscribe to the platform, and as part of the subscription, you're able to get 3 campaigns per month, and you would get a 20% discount for the yearly subscription as opposed to month-by-month subscription. And yeah, basically the prices are on our website, organiz.org, organize without an E at the end, and you'll be able to see what the range of prices are. So that's pricing. Let me know if you all have any questions or feedback on the pricing as well. This is something that we're testing out right now, and it would be useful to kind of understand how you all see the pricing in terms of, is it something that could work for you all? Is it out of your budget ranges? Things like this.
All right, thank you, Kadar. We don't have any other questions, so I guess we can get to our last slide. So, as an organizer working with other organizers, I've seen and experienced firsthand the work that organizers have done and that has been so valuable to our communities. So we see organizers for all of their hard work, and we know that oftentimes progressive organizations in particular are underfunded, undervalued, understaffed, but yet you all have been able to win substantial victories for our communities, and Organiz's goal is to support, uplift, and enhance that work. We know that organizing during the time of COVID presents its unique challenges, and even though that has not stopped you, we're committed to getting creative with you all to support your work. So I want to ask you all, can we get you signed up today to start using Organiz or to have a deeper conversation on how we can transfer your digital organizing? Betsy is going to drop, she did drop in the chat an email contact, so feel free to reach out that way. She's also going to drop our website, but yeah, we encourage you all to please reach out. We'd love to have a deeper conversation with you on what digital organizing looks like in your organization, what you plan on using it for, and how Organiz can help. We do have one question here from Isabel. Would love to know what type of candidates your platform would be ideal for, whether it be in the legislative, Congress, state, school board, etc. I think there's an opportunity for all candidates to be part of the platform, right? Because especially ones that are not so popular, right? Like school board, Congress, county commissioner, district attorney. mayor, etc. Right? Like, I think what's so important for candidates now, to get out there is like, what do they do, right? Why are they running for this position? What does this position even do? And how much, power and influence could they have, like, and what their ideals and their values are, that they want to bring to the position. I remember working on a district attorney's race, right, here in Nevada, and so many people didn't know what the district attorney does, and the district attorney is arguably one of the more powerful people in the state. Um, and they had no idea what they do, and once they found out, right, they were like, oh, our current district attorney is not it, and so we want to make sure that we elect somebody else. And so I think, having that conversation on Twitter, asking your base, right, like, why is, a new mayor, or why is, like, the budget that the mayor has access to important, whatever the position is. I think there is a good opportunity to have that conversation on social media in the public. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Kadar.
No, I think that's great. I mean, I'm to be in all honesty, I think, Amanda, you have way more. I have no electoral organizing experience, and so I didn't actually know what the DA did until our campaign for Chesa Boudin, who was the DA in San Francisco. So yeah, so I think that's very valid. The more popular the race is, especially the most popular race, they don't need kind of a platform really to trend on Twitter. But I mean, definitely they could use it too, to make that process more streamlined and more efficient. But I think, especially for folks that are not as well known, I think they would really benefit from, the supporters really amplifying their message on their behalf.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see, Isabel, you had mentioned that you work with mostly local candidate races in the New York City area. You've spent especially the last 2 years trying to strengthen your knowledge and dig in the organizing space. Thank you so much for the presentation. We'd love to have further conversations. Thank you so much, Isabel, for that. Betsy is going to reach out and connect with you. And so that we can, definitely have those further conversations. And in fact, like, we'd love to dig deeper, right, with all of you all, because as you all are organizing in different states and have different experiences, all of it is relevant to this tool, right? Because the purpose of this tool is for organizers to help fill the gaps and the loopholes and the manual work that's needed, that's a barrier, right, in so much of our digital organizing. And so without your expertise, your experience, and this tool just wouldn't be doing what it was intended to do. So we'd love to connect with all of you.
Cool. I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you so much for attending our presentation. We hope that you enjoyed it. We hope you found that it was informational for you all, educational for you all. And like I said, look forward to continuing the conversation and working with each and every one of you.
Cool. Thanks all. Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.